Storm Warnings by Adrienne Richs. The glass has been falling all the afternoon, and knowing better than the instrument what winds are walking overhead, what zone of grey unrest is moving across the land, I leave the book upon a pillowed chair, and walk from window to closed window, watching boughs strain against the sky, and think again, as often when the air moves inward toward a silent core of waiting, how with a single purpose time has traveled by secret currents of the undiscerned into this polar realm, whether abroad and whether in the heart alike come on regardless of prediction. Between foreseeing and averting change lies all the mastery of elements, which clocks and weather glasses cannot alter. Time in the hand is not control of time, nor shattered fragments of an instrument, a proof against the wind will rise. We can only close the shutters. I draw the curtains as the sky goes black, and set a match to candle sheathed in glass. Against the keyhole draw it, the insistent whine of weather through the unsealed aperture. This is our sole defense against the season. These are the things we have learned to do, who live in troubled regions. Storm Warnings by Adrienne Richs. Storm Warnings contains 4 stanzas with 7 lines each. It portrays the mood and tension to build up to an expected strong storm. In the first stanza, the poet describes the signs of the rising storm. Her barometer, or glass as she puts it, has been falling for quite a while and she can no longer concentrate on her book. At this time in the background, the night is kind of creeping towards her house and she can no longer see the book she's reading. And she goes out to the windows and notices a particular tree branch shaking in the wind. She imagines the wind walking over her house and the grey unrest passing overhead. In the second stanza, the poet moves away from the windows and just starts thinking about the poem. She realizes the storm is caused by warm air moving into an area of cold air, sort of like a hurricane. When she describes the silent core in the center of the storm, this is when it first suggests a hurricane. She describes the storm as if the air is moving towards the center like the eye of the storm, and the cold air is moving to the polar areas. It strikes the poet that the visible buildup of the storm resembles the unknown changes that occur in time. The poet compares how weather changes unpredictably just as one moods and emotions can change unpredictably. It is likely that the physical presence of the storm also causes her mental mood alteration. In the third stanza, the poet focuses on the conflict between the forces of nature and human instruments. Instruments can predict but cannot prevent bad weather like the storm. The poet describes the power of the storm in the phrase mastery of elements. Today the word elements is used almost just to mean weather, and this is sort of like how no one can control nature, nature controls us. And just like barometers can measure but cannot control a storm, just as clocks can measure time but they cannot control it or reverse it. The storms can smash the instruments that humans use to measure it. No instrument is storm-proof. And the poet also realizes that humans are fairly helpless against nature, and they're not able to stop the wind, only take minor defensive actions, such as closing their shutters or barricading their homes. In the final stanza, the light darkens, perhaps because it is nightfall, as I said, the night was getting closer, or because the clouds have gotten so dark because the storm is so deep over her house now. And the poet pulls the curtains and takes some comfort from lighting a candle cased in glass to protect it from the rain. It's likely the storm has knocked out the electricity, and this is why she's using a candle. In referring to season and troubles, the poem suggests that the probability is set in the hurricane belt during hurricane season, which would be like Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi during early spring to late summer. And the noise from the storm cries mournfully. There's nothing more the poet or anyone who lives in the hurricane belt or stormy region can do against nature. The major theme or universal truth of this poem is that humans cannot control the forces of nature. Nature controls us, and we cannot conquer nature. We can only defend us from it, and lightly at that. Another major theme in Storm Warnings is the changes that occur in human life. We cannot change it, we cannot avoid it, we can only barely defend ourselves from it. We can just accept it and just accept it as good change and not bad change, and just learn from it.